When women get together, listen, share, and support each other, magical things happen. When you've put yourself out of your comfort zone once, you have the power to do it again, and no one can take it away from you. But what you bring to the event today and what you take away from today is 100% down to you. And I want to encourage you to make that your goal. I, in the past few weeks, have been hosting conversations with a wide range of women from different backgrounds, all centered around empowerment, but from different angles. And one thing is consistent. When women get together, listen, share, and support each other, magical things happen. Sometimes it isn't always groundbreaking. Sometimes it's just being reminded about things that you already knew. Sometimes it's making a connection. And maybe you're going to hear something for the first time today. And maybe you're going to walk away just knowing that you've been seen. So I'd like to take a moment just to introduce myself and tell you where the she word came from. Now, I'm going to warn you, ladies, this is going to be emotional for me, so if I cry, I apologize. And I apologize to our makeup artist, Jade, because that's going to just run off and get that sorted out. You may have heard my voice from radio as a TV presenter. You may have seen me at events, because I also present events. But I'm pretty sure if you're here today, you've heard of the She Word podcast. Maybe you've seen the show on Love in Malta. But I haven't always done this. I fibbed my way into radio in 2013, and I have never regretted that white lie. When I say it was a white lie, it wasn't really a white lie. It was a massive lie. But I was recently interviewed by Peter Grech in a tell-all edition of his own podcast. And there's a lot back there. If you want to find out how I got into radio and broadcast, but everything that went on before that, there's all of that on that podcast. The only second time I've ever been interviewed. And there's a lot of dark challenges back there. But in 2022, bringing this up to the she word, I invited Maxine Attard. Where's Max? There she is. To come on a podcast I was producing called Empowered, which actually was because of Petra, who's over here. You see how everybody's connected. And Maxine and I are intrinsically linked, not only because we're both married to Adrian Attards, who have black and white but not the same one, black and white profile pictures. That would just be a little bit weird for Malta. But I'm also regularly tagging and sending messages to the wrong Adrian Attard. But actually, Max's mother saved my life in 2010 when I had a riding accident that left me with 2 brain hemorrhages and a ruptured spleen. So when I asked Maxine to come on the show, Max asked if she could talk about her recent miscarriage. We recorded a powerful, beautiful, tearful, and very honest conversation about Max's journey. I put out the show, and 48 hours later, we had reached 40,000 women. And we had women who had had miscarriages 2 decades before, 2 weeks before, women who were related to mums or daughters or sisters or aunts who had had miscarriage. And one thing became very clear, that this was a conversation that women rarely have, but really should. And there were women who just came back to us and said, I feel seen. We couldn't fix the miscarriage, but we can make sure that women are seen. So 110 shows later, and we've had conversations that have been tough, tearful. Some have been funny and fantastic, some have been painful and personal, but all of them have been honest and empowering. And there I go using the word empowerment. So let's talk about a little bit about empowerment before we move on. The average women's empowerment index score worldwide is 0.607. What does that mean? That means around the world globally, women are only empowered to achieve 60% of what they can be. Australia and New Zealand are doing very well on that. They have the highest score empowerment index. Sub-Saharan Africa, which comes as no surprise, has the lowest. But the term empowerment is something that we've seen, we use, and we hear so often. And if I had a cent for every time I've seen the term empowerment used in a social media post, I could probably retire. But if I had a cent for every time I've used it as a hashtag, I could definitely retire right now. So the dictionary definition of empowerment states that empowerment is the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. When I asked all the women on the show, Women in Empowerment, what that meant to them, they all had very different answers. So I'm going to just take 2 minutes of your time to tell you what I believe empowerment means. Firstly, I believe empowerment lies just outside of your comfort zone. I just mentioned the horse riding accident, and from the horse riding accident, I started running. Just after that, from the horse riding accident, I also developed accident-related epilepsy. But just before the horse riding accident, I had a narcissistic, sociopathic boyfriend who, at a dinner party, told me I had short legs like a pit pony and I could never run. And that was what was enough for me to decide I wanted to run the London Marathon on my 40th birthday. So I ran with some friends, and we had one of those amazing experiences where if you're a runner, if you've run marathons, you'll understand why they put new marathons at the end of the race. You get to the end of the race and you're like, I've just done it. I'm going to sign up for another one. And a week later, when you can't walk, you're like, oh, Lord above, why did I do that? But we ran the Gozo half marathon. We finished it, we ran it, and we decided that we were all going to run the London Marathon. So I went into a training experience for about a year of training for the marathon. I started running, I started pushing myself a little bit further. I do have, in fairness, short legs like a pit pony, but they do manage to run, and I signed up for the London Marathon. I was accepted to run the London Marathon for the Epilepsy Society because I had told them I was running and suffering from epilepsy, simple partial seizures.
Find your way to wellness with Browns.
Like a light inside we glow.
So just before the London Marathon, I ran the Malta half marathon as part of my training. And as I crossed the start line of the Malta half marathon in 2014, I had my very last seizure. Now, I left out part of that and said that because of the way that medication works for epilepsy, I made the choice not to take medication. I decided that wasn't the route that I wanted to go. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but it's the way that I wanted to go. And as I ran across the start line of the Malta half marathon in 2014, I had my last ever seizure. And when I ran the London Marathon on my 40th birthday for the Epilepsy Society, I had inadvertently cured myself of epilepsy through running and the oxygen uptake. Now, why am I telling you this? Because recently I was talking to someone about running, and I was saying, it's not easy. Running is not easy. Running a marathon is not easy. Running an ultramarathon is not easy. And running the race at the end is the very small part of everything that goes into it. Everything that goes into it is where you get up in the morning and you run 5K, 10K. Then you say to yourself, wow, I've got to run 32K. And then you go to the race. It's a long process. But if you get yourself out of your comfort zone and you run 5K, you can maybe think about the next day about running 6K. And then after that, you can run maybe 10K. And there's a hill, I don't know if anybody knows that, there's a hill between a valley between Madliena and Gargour. Anybody know where there's a bridge between Madliena and there's the hill that goes from the bridge right the way up to the top of Gargour? It's about 1 kilometer long. It's a steep bridge. Steep hill. And I recently ran that for the very first time. And my running buddy said to me, listen, why have you not run up this hill? You always stop. Let's just run up this hill. When you've done it once, when you've put yourself out of your comfort zone once, you have the power to do it again. And no one can take it away from you. Once you've achieved one thing, whether it be coming today, whether it be having a conversation with someone that you don't know, whether it's just going up to someone, coming alongside someone and asking if they're all right. Once you've done it once, you own that. You can share it, but nobody can take it away. Once you run one marathon, you can then maybe get yourself to do more, or maybe not. Maybe that's not your thing. It doesn't really matter what it is. But once you've done it once, nobody can take that achievement away from you. So once you've stepped out of your comfort zone just once, then you have the power to do it again. And no one can take that away from you. Oh. Listen, I want to be mindful of time, but I do want to just let you know, second, the empowerment comes from when we create a community of women, and this is what we're doing today. We're creating a community of women. I was hosting a discussion recently at the SBC iGaming event, and I was talking to this amazing group of ladies, and the panel was talking about, coming in, empowerment. They were talking about putting budgets together to train people and so on and so forth. And I went out to the audience, which is what we're going to do today, by the way. And I said, does anybody have any thoughts? And this woman stepped up and she said, when women come to iGaming, young women come to iGaming, iGaming is a lot centered around parties and having a good time and drinking a little bit too much, right? And we get young women coming to these events who don't necessarily have experience of what to expect. And she said, we as women, older women, or even the same age, we need to be looking out for each other. And she was specifically talking about these events, but we can apply this to any situation. She turned around to these iGaming ladies and she said, if you see a woman who's being approached by a guy or someone else who's encouraging her to drink more than she should, and putting his hand, sorry guys, but when a guy puts their hand down here, when they go up to you and they put it here and they're like, can I buy you a drink? I don't know about you, but that makes me feel uncomfortable. And that's nothing new. That's been around for as long as I've been around, and probably a damn sight more. But we need to, as women, create this community where we look out for each other, where we see someone doing that and we draw alongside a woman and say, are you okay? Particularly young women. Are you all right? Hey, listen, can I take you? Do you want to do this? Should we just, We as women should be doing this. We as women are powerful when we are in a community that supports each other and looks out for each other. So that's my number 2. And my last is our empowerment comes when we empower other women. And I'm going to tell you a short story, and then I'm going to pass over to Lorinda. My husband, who's at the back there, who's amazing and wonderful, lives in Prague. 2.5 years ago, he dragged me up to Prague. Sorry, hon. And I've been traveling up and down from Prague ever since. And some of you have heard this story before. But I was on a late night flight. I was coming down. It was meant to leave at 10 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm still sitting there waiting for Air Malta to leave. But as I'm waiting for the plane to arrive, I go into the bathrooms in Prague airport. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I walk in, and this woman is standing at the sink, and she looks absolutely amazing. She's dressed so beautifully, so on point. She looks stunning. And I had this feeling inside me. I thought to myself, I need to say something. I need to tell her how good she looks. But that's not easy to do. Just it might not be easy to talk to each other or talk to people you don't know today. But it was something that was on my heart. I said, I need to do that. I really need to say something to her. I said, but you know what? I'm going to make a deal with myself. I'm going to go into the bathroom, and if she's still there when I come out, I'm going to say something to her. So I went into the bathroom, and I stayed as long as I could before it got slightly awkward. And when I came out, she was still standing at the sink. And I went up to her and I said, do you speak English? And she said, yes, I do. I said, can I just tell you, you look absolutely amazing. You look beautiful. And she looked at me in a very long pause. And she said to me, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that today. And we had that sort of strange, long, what do we do now? She left. But she left me thinking, and I always have, this is about 6 months ago, I've always wondered what her story is. We don't know what someone else is going through. But I had the opportunity just to say something to her that made a difference to her on that day. And I don't know, I'll never know why. But I'm really glad that I did it. And we have the opportunity. Ladies, we have the opportunity to do that every single day, to make a difference to another woman every single day. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Max. So I'm going to encourage you, ladies, think about taking something away from today. Find your golden nugget. I'm going to encourage that you're probably not going to take everything away from today, but do look for something that you can take with you, that you can sit with you, and that will be part of your onward journey. Thank you very much. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm going to pass over to Lorinda.